right, diving in. Ready for another deep dive.
Always.
Awesome. So today we're tackling the world of health and fitness.
Okay.
But, not the usual stuff. We're looking at a new approach. It's called the Inflowfit Method.
Interesting.
Yeah, and, you guys have sent in some excerpts from a book
Right.
that outlines this whole method, so we're here to,
Break it down.
yeah, decode it, see what it's all about.
Exactly.
See if maybe this could be the answer to,
To all our problems.
well, to breaking free from those frustrating weight loss cycles that I think we all know too well.
Oh, absolutely. And what really stands out to me from these excerpts is the emphasis on the science behind it.
Yes.
Why we struggle with weight.
Yeah.
It's not just eat less, move more. It goes way deeper.
Yeah.
It's hormones, it's biology, even our evolutionary history.
I've always wondered about that. Is there more to it
Right.
than just willpower? Because I know I'm not the only one who's tried and failed to stick to a diet.
Oh, countless times.
Countless times.
Yeah.
And it's almost like my body is working against me.
Absolutely. And you're so right. The Inflowfit method really challenges that whole traditional calorie restriction model. And there's some fascinating research cited in the book.
Yeah.
For example, there's this study from Swansea University that looked at what happens hormonally when we drastically cut calories.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me because I know hormones play such a huge role, but I don't really understand how they impact weight loss.
Well, think of it this way. When we really restrict calories, our bodies, they sense a threat, almost like a famine. And as a survival mechanism, they start producing more of the hunger hormone, ghrelin, while simultaneously decreasing levels of leptin, which is the hormone that signals fullness.
So it's not just about feeling hungry. It's our bodies are actually driving us to eat more.
Exactly. And on top of that, your metabolism slows down to conserve energy.
It's like a double whammy.
It is. It's a double whammy, and it makes it so difficult to stick to those diets long term.
That makes so much sense because I have experienced that.
Yeah.
When I've tried to cut calories drastically, I get this intense hunger and I'm so fatigued.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was just me being weak-willed.
Right.
But maybe it's biology.
It's not willpower.
Okay.
It's physiology. And the Inflowfit method acknowledges this. It encourages a more sustainable approach.
Okay.
It's about working with our biology, not against it.
I like that, working with it.
Yeah.
So speaking of working with our biology, the book also talks about our inherent laziness.
Yes.
And how it's actually an evolutionary advantage.
It is.
We're supposed to be lazy. There's this quote from, I think it's a Harvard professor, Daniel Lieberman. He says, "It is natural and normal to be physically lazy. Our instincts are always to save energy."
And it makes perfect sense. Back in the day, our ancestors, they needed to conserve energy for essential things. Right. Hunting and gathering. Exactly. Hunting, gathering. But in our modern world. Yes. All there. Where we have food readily available.
Yeah, we don't have to hunt for it.
We don't have to run around and find it.
Yeah.
So that instinct to save energy can make it tough to stay active.
It's like our biology hasn't quite caught up to our lifestyle.
Right.
We're wired to be efficient.
Yes.
But maybe a little too efficient.
A little too efficient for our own good, yeah.
For our own good, exactly.
And you know what? The Inflowfit method, it recognizes this challenge and provides strategies to kind of overcome it. So it's not about forcing ourselves to do things that feel unnatural.
Yeah.
It's about understanding our natural tendencies and finding ways to make healthy choices easier and more enjoyable.
I like that. So before we, dive even deeper into the specifics of the Inflowfit method, I think it's important to touch on the fact that so many people get caught in this cycle.
We're yo-yo dieting.
The yo-yo dieting. The book actually cites some pretty startling statistics.
Yeah.
Over 65% of women.
Wow.
And 44% of men try to lose weight every year.
It's a huge issue.
It's a huge issue.
And it shows that traditional weight loss methods, they just don't address the root causes. They focus on these quick fixes and deprivation, which are unsustainable.
Right.
And can ultimately lead to more frustration and, weak fluctuations.
It feels like the whole weight loss industry thrives on this cycle of hope and disappointment.
Yeah, absolutely.
They sell us this dream of a quick fix.
Right.
But maybe what we need is like a deeper understanding of ourselves.
A deeper understanding of ourselves, our bodies.
And a more sustainable approach.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes the Inflowfit method so compelling, right?
Absolutely.
It shifts the focus from those quick fixes to long-term sustainable habits.
Exactly.
It emphasizes understanding your individual needs.
Yes.
And working with your body, not against it.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've laid the groundwork here.
Yeah.
We've talked about, the limitations of traditional dieting.
Yeah.
We've talked about the science behind our struggles with weight.
The why.
The why. Now, let's dive into the specifics of the Inflowfit method.
Yes.
And how it proposes to help us break free from this frustrating cycle.
From what we've gathered from these excerpts, it seems to be a 3-phase approach.
Ooh, a 3-phase approach. Okay, so this is like a journey then.
It is a journey.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I'm ready.
All right, let's embark.
Let's embark on this journey. We'll unpack it in the next part of our deep dive. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Inflowfit method.
All right, so last time we left off, we were talking about the idea that this method has this 3-phase approach.
That's right, a 3-phase approach.
Yeah, and it kind of sounded like a journey almost.
It does, doesn't it? Like any good journey, it starts with preparation.
Okay.
Phase 1 is all about laying the groundwork for change.
Okay, so what does that actually look like? What kind of groundwork are we talking about here?
Well, from what I can tell, it seems to be about building awareness.
Okay.
Really understanding your current habits and identifying those triggers that lead to unhealthy choices.
So kind of like taking stock of where you are before setting off on this new path.
Exactly. And I think that's really important because the Inflowfit method recognizes that everybody's different.
Right.
What are your go-to comfort foods? When are you most likely to overeat?
Oh, yeah.
What emotions, what situations fuel those choices?
Yeah.
It's about gathering data, but without judgment.
So it's almost like detective work, figuring out the why.
Yeah, the why behind your less healthy choices.
I like that.
And once you understand the why, then you can start to develop strategies for change that are actually tailored to your needs.
Okay, but how do you actually, go about gathering that data?
Yeah.
Are we talking food journals, mood trackers, or, something else entirely?
That's where I wish we had more detail from these excerpts.
Yeah.
Because it mentions this self-assessment, but it doesn't really specify the tools or techniques.
Right.
Maybe that's something that's explored further in the book.
Ugh, the suspense.
I know.
All right, well, let's just assume we've done our detective work, right?
Okay.
We've figured out our patterns, our triggers.
You've got the intel.
We've got the intel.
Right.
What's next? What happens in phase 2?
Well, phase 2 is where you start putting that knowledge into action.
Okay.
So it's about taking what you've learned about yourself
right.
and experimenting with different strategies.
So this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak.
Precisely. Okay.
And one of the key strategies that they mention is the replacement strategy.
Oh, okay, yes. You mentioned that earlier.
Right.
The one I'm really curious about, because it sounds like a more realistic and sustainable approach than just cutting out entire food groups,
Exactly. So instead of focusing on what you can't have, it's about finding healthier and enjoyable alternatives to the less healthy choices that you identified in phase 1.
So, for example, instead of completely eliminating chocolate, which I could never do.
You could never do that.
I could find a healthier way to satisfy that craving,
Yeah.
Maybe dark chocolate
Yeah.
with some berries or something.
That's a great example.
Okay.
Or maybe you swap that bag of chips for some air-popped popcorn.
Right.
Or a handful of almonds.
Okay.
It's about experimenting and finding swaps that actually feel good.
Right, that actually feels satisfying.
Yeah, and not like a punishment.
Exactly.
And it's not just about food swaps either.
Oh,
okay.
Phase 2 also emphasizes finding forms of exercise that you genuinely enjoy.
That's key.
Remember we talked about how we're programmed to conserve energy.
Right.
If you can find an activity that's actually fun,
Yes.
it doesn't feel like a chore.
You're speaking my language because if it feels like a chore, I'm not going to do it.
Exactly.
But if I find something I actually enjoy, then it's something I'm going to look forward to.
Right.
And I'll stick with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it might be dancing, hiking, swimming.
Right.
Even just taking a brisk walk in nature.
Yeah.
The important thing is that it feels good.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to actually do it.
Okay, so phase 2 is about putting those personalized insights into action.
Yeah.
And finding those strategies that really work for you. Building those healthy habits gradually.
Gradually.
Making it enjoyable, not not a source of stress.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then once you've established those habits, it's time to move on to phase 3.
All right, phase 3. This sounds like the maintenance phase, right?
It is the part where we make these changes stick for the long haul.
Yeah. Like, how do we keep this going long term?
It's about solidifying those habits and making ongoing adjustments as needed.
Okay.
Because remember, our bodies, our lifestyles, they're constantly changing.
Yeah, there you are.
So it's important to be able to adapt.
So it's not about reaching some finish line and being like, okay, I'm done.
No.
It's like, it's a journey.
Yeah, it's embracing that journey.
Yeah.
Recognizing there will be ups and downs along the way.
Exactly. Life happens.
Life happens.
Okay.
Phase 3 encourages you to continue checking in with yourself.
Okay.
Reassessing your needs and making tweaks as you go along.
Right.
You know, life throws curveballs.
It does.
Our bodies change.
Yeah.
It's about having the tools to navigate those shifts.
That's a good point. So it's really about building resilience.
Yes.
And having that long-term mindset,
Now,
not just striving for those short-term results.
long-term vision.
Okay.
And it also emphasizes self-compassion, which I think is so important.
Yeah.
You know, there will be times when you slip up
Well,
or face challenges.
of course.
It's about learning from those experiences and getting back on track without, beating yourself up.
Without the guilt and shame.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm really liking this 3-phase approach.
Me too.
So much more like holistic and realistic than anything I've seen before.
It's refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To see a weight loss approach that recognizes, like you said, our individual needs, our biology, and the fact that lasting change takes time and effort.
Right. It's not a quick fix.
It's not a quick fix.
It's like a lifestyle shift.
It is. It's about making those gradual changes that ultimately lead to lasting results.
Well, there's one thing that we've been dancing around this whole time.
What's that?
I'm dying to, get into the specifics.
Yeah, the replacement strategy.
Yes. We keep mentioning it, but we haven't really, delved into the nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty.
Of how it works.
Right.
And what makes it so effective.
Yeah, it seems like the book really goes into a lot more detail about that.
Okay.
About the different types of swaps and how to make them work for you.
All right. Well, guess we'll have to save that juicy conversation.
I know.
For the final part of our deep dive. Listeners, you'll have to stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
To hear more about how to put this replacement strategy into action in your own life. Welcome back. We're finally here, ready to dig into this replacement strategy.
The moment you've all been waiting for.
I know. We've been teasing it long enough.
We have.
But before we go full force into it,
okay,
remind me one last time. What's the big idea behind this whole thing?
Okay, so the big idea is to ditch that all or nothing mentality.
Right.
That so many diets, they push on us.
Yeah.
So instead of I can't have any sugar or carbs are the enemy.
Right.
It's about shifting the focus.
Okay.
Finding healthier alternatives to the less than ideal choices you're currently making.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
That sounds much more sustainable, long term. But I need some concrete examples.
Okay, sure.
What does this actually look like?
Let's say you have a weakness for that afternoon sugary latte.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of trying to go, cold turkey on caffeine and sugar.
Which never works.
And just leads to headaches and cravings.
Oh, yeah.
You could try some alternatives.
Okay.
Like, what about a homemade latte with, unsweetened almond milk and a little bit of honey?
Okay.
Or maybe a cup of herbal tea with some fruit for sweetness.
I like those. See, those are doable.
Right.
Yeah, it's not about depriving yourself.
Right.
It's about finding that balance.
Finding what works for you.
Yeah.
And these swaps can go beyond beverages, too.
Yeah.
So let's say, you're stressed, you reach for a bag of chips.
I know that feeling.
Could you maybe have some sliced veggies with some hummus or a handful of nuts?
Yeah, those are good options.
Right.
So I'm guessing the idea is to gradually, incorporate more of these healthy swaps.
Yeah.
Until they become your new go-to choices.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You're not, overhauling your entire diet overnight.
Right. It's not drastic.
No.
Yeah.
It's about making small changes that add up to big results.
I like that. It's the little things that matter.
It's the little things. And it's also about tuning into your body and your cravings.
What do you mean tuning in? How does that play into this?
Well, instead of just mindlessly reaching for whatever's there.
Oh, yeah.
You pause and you ask yourself, what am I really craving right now?
Woo, that's a good point.
Are you actually hungry? Or are you just, bored, stressed, emotional?
Sometimes I don't even realize I'm not hungry. I'm just reaching for a snack because I'm anxious or something.
Exactly. Yeah. So once you identify that real need, you can make a more conscious choice. So maybe instead of that sugary snack, you need a quick walk to clear your head, or a chat with a friend, or just a few minutes of quiet time.
So it's not always about the food.
It's not always about the food. It's about understanding the deeper needs driving that behavior.
I see. So it's like, it's empowering, almost.
It is empowering. It's shifting from that place of restriction to a place of empowerment.
I like that.
And remember, it's not about perfection.
Yeah.
It's about progress.
Those little wins.
It is about the little wins and finding what works best for you.
Right, because everyone's different.
Everyone is different. Maybe you love experimenting in the kitchen and you can whip up healthy versions of your favorite treats.
Okay.
Or maybe you need to keep things super simple.
Yeah.
Pre-cut veggies, grab-and-go snacks.
That's more my style.
There you go. The point is, find a system that fits your lifestyle.
That fits you.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta say, I'm really digging this whole replacement strategy.
Me too.
It just feels so much more realistic than anything else I've tried.
And I think that's what's so great about the Inflowfit method as a whole.
Yeah.
It's not a diet. It's a framework.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, exactly.
And it's about, working with our biology, our psychology, to make those healthy choices feel almost effortless.
Right. It's finding that sweet spot where healthy and enjoyable intersect.
I love that. All right, well, I think we've officially unpacked the Inflowfit method.
I think we have.
From the science behind our struggle.
To the practical strategies.
That was quite the deep dive.
It was a deep dive.
And remember, this is just a starting point.
It is.
The real journey begins when you start applying these principles to your own life.
It does. So keep exploring the source material and see what resonates with you.
Yeah, find what works for you.
Exactly.
All right, well, thanks for joining us on this adventure.
Yes, thank you.
And until next time, happy diving.